The Donegal village of Fawn, on the shore of Lough Swilly, the lake of 1,000 eyes, nestling at the foot of Golan Hill. Fawn's monastic roots date back to the 6th century, when the abbot Mura, one of St Columba's followers, founded his monastery here. The ruins of his church and the cross remain, while the local patron saint has lent his name to churches, schools and generations of children. It is a little-known fact that buried in the overgrown graveyard surrounding the ruins of the old church lies one of the area's most illustrious and yet largely unsung daughters, a woman who during the course of her short life helped to change forever the whole ethos of workhouse care, the nursing pioneer, Agnes Jones. The Joneses. Father Joseph, Mother Elizabeth, Agnes and her two younger siblings Josie and Fred were a military family used to following Joseph's regiment around the world. They eventually settled in Fawn due to Elizabeth's ill health, and it was here, in Fawn House, that her story really begins.
The title pin. Let's go.
Agnes, wait! Do you think you could make Mother well again?
I wish I could. No. Come on!
Ill health was to dominate the girl's adolescence. Elizabeth Jones had always been frail and appeared never to fully recover her strength after the birth of her youngest child, Fred. Joseph would never travel far again, and Agnes, who herself suffered hearing difficulties, was prone to debilitating migraine and its understood bouts of self-analysis and depression. Perhaps it was in this context that she resolved to devote her life to nursing the sick.
Fred! Mother remains in poor health and Fred is a handful of mischief. Sometimes I fear he's getting out of control.
Fred, stop that!
What are you doing?
Writing.
Boring.
Sometimes it's good to keep a record of things.
What things?
Just things.
Let me see.
Now you're all wet.
November the 10th, 1846. Today I am 14, quite grown up. By now, Father says I should know what path my life is taking.
He talks of sending Josie and myself away to school.
Do you want to help me with Mother's things?
She's not fit to travel, Agnes.
Does she have a choice?
The family moved for a time to Dublin, and Agnes continued her studies there. At her tutor's suggestion, she began teaching in one of the hedge or ragged schools near Lurgard.
And that is the story of the children of Lear. Anyone have any questions?
How long are you staying, Miss Jones?
Not for much longer, Kathleen. I'm going to go and teach some children in Connemara. Does anyone know where that is?
The hedge schools provided a basic literacy and numeracy for children who would otherwise have received no education. On realising the importance of education for the young people of the remote and impoverished region of Connemara, she began raising funds to pay for schoolmasters' salaries and tending to the local sick.
Miss Jones is on her way. Where is she? Rush.
Stay back from your sister now, Seamus.
It wasn't our fault,
She went too close to the fire.
I warned you. I told you this would happen.
She needs a doctor.
Oh, poor child. It's going to be fine. Shh.
Lord, help her.
Water causes the skin to peel away.
Daddy was putting the fire out.
He did what he thought was best. Can you fetch me some flour? And some clean sheets. And it must be clean, otherwise we risk infection.
She's going to die.
No, she's not. She's not gonna die, Mary. She'll be all right. Won't she?
Only God knows that.
Back in Fawn, in Agnes's absence, there were big changes. Josephine had married her curate, Robert Higginbottom, and together the two established what was an exhausting hands-on ministry amongst the sick and impoverished members of their community. To Josephine fell also the care of their mother, who was largely bedridden. Fred was to emigrate to Australia.
She won't eat it.
I have to try.
You need to keep your own strength up. You're worn out with your mother. She expects too much of you.
Don't say that. She's not well.
And you are. You're very pale, Josie.
I must take this to Mother.
1856 saw the end of the Crimean War. The war had been a blundering, needlessly costly affair, where the commanders of both sides had proved themselves hopelessly inept. Yet this conflict, where more men had died from disease than on the battlefield, had established the foundations of modern-day nursing. The intervention of Florence Nightingale and the first teams of Nightingale nurses effectively reduced the mortality rate by more than 40%, and that in spite of primitive conditions and basic resources. It was decided at a public meeting in London to build on this success by setting up a training school for nurses based at St Thomas's Hospital.
What are you reading?
It's from Agnes. Dearest Jay, 1,000 loving thanks for your letter, and my prayers are with you as I read of the fever epidemic sweeping through our parish. You must be exhausted working with the sick.
I feel that my own calling is to London, not to a mission but to St Thomas's Hospital as a probationer, a Nightingale nurse. Just seeing those words in writing excites me. I know Mother still feels that full-time nursing is too strenuous for me and not really for a woman of our background.
And I do not wish to cause her distress, especially as Fred prepares to emigrate.
Josephine's life as a minister's wife came to an untimely end when Higginbottom contracted a fever from his flock and died. His memorial stands here in St Colum's Cathedral in Derry. Agnes began corresponding with Florence Nightingale. She resolved to fulfil her God-given vocation and enrol as a probationer. The news came as no surprise, of course, to Josephine, who had long known Agnes's ambitions, but it would have to be kept from their mother, who always expressed concerns about the morality of the profession. So it was with some apprehension that Agnes began what she was later to describe as a year's hard and regular training, without which I would have been nowhere. With her allowance of 3 plain brown dresses and aprons and 10 shillings, she moved into a wing of St Thomas's to train in everything from studying anatomy, attending operations, applying poultices and fomentations,